Welcome to the Microsoft Office Add-ins community call for August 12th. This is where we talk about everything in the Office platform related to extensibility, whether that's Office add-ins, Office scripts, or just anything else that makes Office work for you. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. Please make sure your microphones are muted unless you're presenting. If you want to ask a question or have any comments, please use the chat. We'll answer them as we go through and have a Q&A at the end. Members of the Office Add-ins product team are on the call as well and happy to answer all of your questions as we go. My name is Alex Jerabek. I'll be the host for today's call. We also have Juan with us, who's going to talk today about the new Outlook 1.9 APIs to show off what's about to be released into general availability on the Outlook side of things for your add-ins. We also have Matt here to talk about the release of single sign-in. SSO has been a highly awaited feature, so we're excited to present that to y'all. And finally, we have Chris, one of our friends at Jdox here, who is going to demonstrate their add-in they've released. They've built on top of the Office platform, and they're going to share their solution and their challenges, their growth, their opportunities, everything that went along with developing their add-in with y'all. And then, like I said, we'll have a little Q&A at the end. But without further ado, let's kick it off with Juan to talk about the Outlook 1.9 APIs. So Juan, are you there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here with you today, this morning here in Redmond, to talk a little bit about Outlook APIs. So let's get through it. So basically, what the team is working on right now is that we are closing, the scope of our 1.9 release. So the new APIs that we are going to ship for the new JavaScript APIs, we are going to ship to Outlook. And we have the table that you see here includes currently the scope that we are thinking we're going to release. So it includes, many functionalities that you've been asking for. I think the main feature that it's going to get released, it's append on send. It's append on send functionality that we actually reviewed in detail, I think 2 community calls ago. I strongly suggest you to go back to that one and see, what we shared there. But we are also including other APIs, more like that we have been getting requests in our user voice channel quite a bit. For example, we're including the dialog API. We're going to provide this API as part of 1.9. We're going to have what we call display item async flavors. And finally, we're going to have also custom properties improvements. On this call, we're going to talk today about the display item async flavors. So basically, we have, if you've been coding with Outlook, you know that there's a bunch of APIs that we shipped long time ago that are about displaying items. For example, if you want to show an existing appointment or an existing message, you want to pop that message to the user on its own window, you basically use these APIs to either show an existing appointment or an email, or you can also trigger the creation of a new appointment or a new message, right? Or you can trigger also reply or reply all methods. So we received the feedback, so let's go to the next slide and see why these APIs are needed. I want to focus this presentation today on these methods. So first of all, they were shipped a long time ago. And in fact, these APIs, they have a problem. Well, actually, they have advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is that they are very simple to use. So there is in an asynchronous model, this is one of the few synchronous APIs. And basically, it's very simple to use. You just display, if you want to display a message, takes the ID of that message, and then you can basically just show it. Obviously, this works great if the item already exists in Outlook. And basically, when we designed this API a long time ago, we were assuming that you were going to be showing existing appointments or emails, right? Obviously, with the graph and all the services layers that we have today, where you can actually create not only using the JavaScript API, you have REST APIs and you have the Graph API, and you can create appointments and calendar appointments and emails using the REST APIs. Okay, so basically, the problem that we have today is that there's kind of a lagging time if you create an appointment using the services that you might not have the item created in Outlook yet. No? So sometimes it takes like a few seconds or sometimes even more than that. Usually it's very fast, no? But sometimes it takes some time. And basically, if you have a synchronous method and if the item doesn't exist already in your Outlook, then this API is going to fail, and you don't have a way of knowing that it failed. So that is basically the problem that we have today. So we are adding for all these methods a way to check, if the item actually was created, if you can see if the call was successful. So let me give you a quick demo about this. Let me share my screen and show you how this works really quickly. So what I have here is ScriptLab. So as you know, we recently announced that it's live, so you can now use ScriptLab in Outlook. I will share in the meeting notes, a link to this snippet so that you can play with it as well. So this is basically a very simple snippet that is showing everything that I just mentioned. So for example, here I have, as you can see in the task pane, I have a way of creating, an appointment using the REST API or a draft email messages using the REST API. And then I have a way of opening an appointment using the old APIs, and then open the same appointment using the new APIs. So let's have a look at the code here. So as I was telling you, the APIs that we shipped a long time ago, if you see line number 17 here, you will see we have displayed appointment, and it's basically what I'm doing is that I'm just taking an ID as a parameter, and then I just open that one, right? But you don't have a way of checking if it was successful or not, so it was kind of unreliable, As you can see, the difference here in the new method, we actually have an async flavor. That's why the async prefix is here, suffix is here. It takes the ID of the appointment that you want to create, and then basically you get a callback, and within the callback you can actually check, if the item exists or not. All right. Then I have other two methods here to create appointments. I was trying to simulate what is the problem here, although I wasn't able to do that. Right now the graph is very fast, so I cannot replicate it. But in some conditions, and if you're using EWS as well, it's sometimes you get this behavior. No. What I'm doing here is I'm just calling the REST API and creating a new appointment, and then I am basically opening that item using the methods. No? So let's see how it works here. So first of all, I'm going to create a draft. So when I click on create draft, you will see that effectively you see it was very fast right now. So it went to the graph, created a new draft. I have the ID here, and as you can see, the drafts if I open my drafts folder, you will see that effectively there's a draft created here. No? So in this case, it was very fast. It's created. I was not able to replicate this, but some customers have reported that this frequently happens. No? So I don't have that problem right now. But I want to show you what happens if I delete it. Now I'm going to create a new appointment. So by creating the REST APIs. And as you can see here, this is the appointment that I created. And basically, here is the ID of that appointment. I'm reporting the ID here in the console, right? So if I copy this ID and I put it here, you can see that if I can call this create appointment, I can call the API using the new method, and I can call it using the old method as well. It's going to work. Now, what happens if I delete this appointment? If I delete the appointment, check this out. Let's go to the calendar. So I'm going to open this in a new window. This is the appointment that was created. I'm just going to delete it, so it no longer exists. So if I try to open that appointment using the ID that was provided originally using the old method, I'm basically just going to be making the call, and I don't have a way of knowing if what happened. I don't know if this was successful or not as a developer. So this is basically the complaint that we were listening. However, if I use the new method on the other hand, I'm going to be able to say, hey, I'm going to get this exception. I'm going to check, the call failed. The item does not exist and has not been created. So this is it's a more reliable API in the sense that you can get, a detailed response on why, if the item was displayed or not. All right. So we implemented this flavor of asynchronous to all the displays. So again, we have like 6 methods that are displaying items in Outlook, and in 1.9 they're going to have an async flavor so that you can actually check if the items were created or not. And that's what I have for you guys today. By the way, everything that I was saying right now, it's in preview. So you can go and try use these APIs, give us feedback. Again, we are in the latest stages of shipping all these new functionalities for you, and it will be wonderful if we can get your feedback on it. Thank you very much, Alex. That's it from my side.
All right, thank you, Juan. I'll ask the preemptive question that I know will come up in the chat is, when do we expect to release all these?
It's going to be very soon. Again, we are closing the scope of this. We are polishing everything, the last details, making sure that it works in the platforms that we are targeting. By the way, this is only going to work for now in Windows and OA and web. Later, it's going to work in Mac and on the other platforms. But I don't want to say a specific date, but I think it's going to be very soon. So I hope that's a good enough answer.
It's good. Awesome. Yeah, and just a reminder, you can try out all these APIs in ScriptLab now. We now support Outlook in ScriptLab, so if you want to develop little prototype add-ins in Outlook itself, check out ScriptLab. We'll paste the link in the chat. But for now, I'm going to turn things over to Matt.
Thanks, Alex. So, hey, happy to be here. Happy to announce that we have released single sign-on for Office add-ins. They have gone GA. So it's really exciting, and I'm really happy to share a little bit about what the single sign-on feature does and how we can use it. Just a little bit of overview. It is generally available, and it's available in the July fork. So that's going to be rolling out over the next few weeks, I believe, to the current channel, and keep an eye on that. But I believe it's version 2008. The identity API requirements set does list the build. And if it doesn't, we'll make sure we update that specific build. But I know it's version 2008. Single sign-on. I love the chat, by the way. This is great. The single sign-on lets you, reduce the number of times the user has to log in to your service if they're already logged into Office and you're using Azure Active Directory. And it really provides a smoother user experience, and you can also, really easily get profile information, or you can get Microsoft Graph data depending on what your service needs to do. Really nice thing too is that it supports both work and school accounts as well as Microsoft accounts. So it's not just for organizations, it's not just for consumers. You can use it no matter who you're targeting. And I just want to talk a little bit about how the flow works, and you may have seen this before, and we'll just kind of go through it real quickly. But you have an add-in on the client side, and that goes ahead and creates a request to get access tokens. So this is the call that's saying, hey, I want to know who this user is. That goes ahead and calls out to Azure AD. So the Office host is calling out to Azure AD to get a token for the add-in server. So this is your server, and what happens is it returns. We go ahead, and move forward that to back to the client side. That's step 3. We get back a token to your add-in server to the Office host. That comes back to the client. So then you can go ahead and use that. Now you have the user's identity. They've consented already at this point, or an admin's consented, so that's taken care of. And the client side can pass it back to the server for validation. You can use that information to store information on your server side, or you can continue on and do steps 6 through 8 here, which show how to get to graph data. So you can exchange that token using the on behalf of flow to get a graph token and make calls to the graph. So you can go ahead and you literally just make another call on your server side. Steps 6, 7, and 8 just show, you can go ahead, exchange that token, and then you get access to the graph, and you can make graph calls. So that's the flow. It's very straightforward, as we can see here with the lines. It's actually pretty straightforward to implement. I'll show you a little demo here. I have 2 demos for you. So first, let's take a look at a very simple single sign-on demo here. So I have just used the Yo Office tooling to create a very Excel task pane add-in, and I added a few lines of code. Specifically, I added this get access token. There's a couple options I passed here. I'll allow sign in and allow consent. And so allow consent prompt is a big one, actually. That's something we added where the user can consent to share the profile information if they haven't yet. So that's something that's really important that we've added. That's for the identity piece, the profile piece only. If you're looking to do graph scopes, we'll talk about that in a minute. I parsed that token, and then I just went ahead and grabbed some range data and threw it into a range. So let's take a look at how this works. I need to make sure I'm running the right one. They're very closely named, unfortunately. Looks like that is running. So let's launch Excel. So this is an Excel one. We can see that I have a few different accounts signed in here. So I'll show you kind of some different experiences. So this is just the simple, again, I just modified the sample app. I click run. Oh, I have to select my range. I didn't care. It should scold me for this. But we can see here that it went ahead and it grabbed, just by clicking that run, that one call to get token, get access token. You can also see when I set up my tenant, I misspelled my own name, which is hilarious. But what we can see here, I'm parsing that token. And I'm getting I'm just showing you the scopes I've got here. The audience, that's my app ID, which I can see matches my app ID in Azure, which right here, we're not gonna copy it and take a look, but it is the same app. So we see I'm getting a scope for my service, or audience for my service, which is great. And if I switch users, let's see if we can get another one here. We can see just like that, it's getting the correct person, super easy. That was, again, that one line of code is calling and getting that token. I didn't have to do anything but parse it. So all that's handled. I will call out, I did not put in a fallback method here, so you should definitely do that, and we'll see what that looks like here in the next demo, which the next demo is using the actual tooling again that does the the SSO quick start that we have. So we have a really cool SSO quick start. It goes ahead and creates a really nice project for you, and it can even register the Azure Active Directory app registration. So you can go through all the pieces for that, and you can. This is that project right here. I did not change this at all. I just wanted to show you. This took me maybe like 20 minutes to put everything together, and most of that was waiting for the Azure command line to download and go through. But it goes ahead. It has some really nice helper libraries in there to go ahead and do the fallback auth to handle all the things that you should be doing. So if you're just getting started, this is a great place that you can go and see how that works. So let's go ahead. Let's see who I'm logged in as. So I'm logged in right now as my misspelled user. I can go ahead and try and do this. Now, what's going to happen is this should fail. That's expected. So this is the fallback dialog. So this is if SSO, for whatever reason, didn't work. And there's a couple scenarios where this could be. Either they're in the user's in an older version that doesn't support SSO, or there's some error that wasn't handled. Now, in this case, again, we have a few of them in the tooling, the quick start that are automatically handled, but there are some cases like multi-factor auth and conditional access that you need to be careful about. And we do have some documentation on that, on how to handle that. So this is an expected behavior. You want to make sure that you do have this fallback method to let the user go ahead and then sign in the first time, which they have to do to go through the consent process. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my portal here, and this is the other app that we're looking at right now, that Word app. And we can see here, I can actually go ahead and grant admin consent for my entire tenant. And so I've done that. And now assuming that this propagates quick enough, we'll see. Let's see if this works. Boom. So there you go. and I'm a super cool demo person. I totally didn't put that in for this demo. Oh, I did actually. But this is showing office, like your office information, your phone number. This is again just some basic profile info, but this is getting it from Graph. So this is going through that whole flow of getting the profile token, swapping it for a Graph token, talking to Graph, and we also have addition to the quick start that tells you how to modify it to go and get other Graph data, and using that as a great learning tool. So really cool stuff. I think that covers most of it. I know I missed one thing actually. Let's go back to that other demo. Let's see if I can get the consent experience real quick, just so you can see what it looks like. So in the case of the previous, what we just saw with admin consent, that is what you have to do for a graph scopes. If you have graph scopes, just for certain issues that we're still working out and trying to move through with some of the consent parts, the admin consent is the only way that you can avoid a fallback. But if you're just using profile, you can still do consent right here in client. So let's see. I think this one should work to ask for consent. You start getting, I was going to do that. Okay, actually, let me do this. Is it not running? It might not be running. Oh, that's why. Oh, no, that should be good. Let's try it again. Here we go. Well, you know what? I'm not going to show you the consent experience this time, but I'll make sure that if anyone wants to see it, we can go through that next time, or we'll put something up, after on the docs, just showing what that looks like. But that's pretty much as easy as it is. You really don't have to do much. That one line, that get access token, it really is that simple to just get the profile information. You do have to do your app registration. The full details are on the documentation, which we do have links to in this deck, and we'll make sure we share out. They're also in our announcement on the Office Dev blog post. So just a couple of best practices. Make sure to implement that fallback method. If you don't, you won't let users be able to sign in, and that's not a great experience. There are client IDs you have to pre-authorize so that the Office host can do the call on the behalf of the user and talk to your service. So you do have to pre-authorize that, and the list again is in our documentation. There are some new formatting requirements for the manifest that we're finishing updated documentation this week, but it does follow the best practices that are already there in the current docs. We'll just be calling out that they are now required. And then there's some things you should make sure you check out in the auth options explicitly around for graph access or the allow consent prompt. So for graph access, we'll make sure that if you do use graph scopes and you do get graph data, that you will be able to fail fast if they didn't have admin consent granted already. So we'll just skip even trying to get a token that won't work, and we'll go ahead and say, hey, let's launch that fallback method the first time, and then after that, consent will have been granted, and it should just work. And then for the other piece, like I said, the consent prompt. If you only require profile information, make sure that you include that so you can get the most value out of SSO. So that's what I had. I will answer questions in the chat here after I'm done talking, which is right now. If you have anything else, though, make sure to check out our documentation, like I said, our blog post, and we'll be continuing to do some additional work on this and improve the experience as we move forward. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. And yeah, feel free to ask questions, chat. Matt will be hanging out throughout this, and we can kind of revisit some of the ones we want to talk more about during the Q&A section. But for now, let's switch over to Chris Mentor is going to talk about Jdox's add-in, their solution. So Chris, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, hello everyone. Chris Mentor. I'm the Director of Product Management at Jedox. Today is a little bit of a discussion about a real-life implementation of Office.js and custom functions. We're a technology company that does corporate performance CPM, corporate performance management. So we do planning, forecasting, budgeting, reporting, and analysis for companies. And basically, So what we've developed is, for a long time, since 2002, we've had an Excel add-in for our product. And we've recently developed a Jedox online add-in. So this essentially allows our customers to use it for planning, reporting, and analysis. It's a full read-write capability, and they can save numbers and strings directly into Excel Online, which writes back the data directly to our in-memory database, which sits behind it. The add-in is available for anyone, but you need a Jedox instance to actually run it. You can download it from the AppSource marketplace and add that to your instance of Excel Online. And the first screen you get when you get it is a screen which basically tells you either add a connection, or you can just get a trial version on the fly of Jedox and connect to that to actually start looking at your data via Excel Online. So what I'm going to do now is swap over live to a demo. So when I come to manage my connections, I can click on, this is my Jedox toolbar here in my ribbon. At the moment, we've only got a couple of items. Over time, this will be built out to include a fully featured ribbon that we have for Excel at the moment, desktop Excel. And at the moment, we're building this up, and we've got the ability to manage connections. So we can come in here and we can see our connection here, and we've got the ability to add a name, an address, username and password to authenticate against the Jedox connection. We can test that connection to make sure that it's working properly. So once all that is set up, what we can then do is then use it. So for example, I've got a report set up here which is connecting live back to Jedox. It just recalculates my report and brings back the latest information through to Excel Online. Another example here of another type of user. So if I went to say a business analyst view here, they've got a report that they need to key numbers in. They could select various filters or groups. I've got a budget number. I want to increase that to 1,000. They just type that number directly in, and that sends the number directly into the Jedox database. And we can see here we've got these Parlo Data C formulas. They are Jedox formulas using custom functions that are connecting back to this connection that I've set up here in Excel Online. So it's reading that in real time. When I recalculate the sheet, it's connecting back to the Jedox cloud instance. You've also got the ability to write back strings. So I can type text in here, and this sends that string back directly into the server, then returns the formula again and reading the value directly from the server there. So this is a bit of an example of how these formulas work and how we're using custom formulas to actually return data from a Jedox OLAP server, in-memory OLAP server in the cloud to Excel Online. Next thing I wanted to show you was taking a report here in Excel. So we're now in desktop Excel, and this is an example of a fully fledged Jedox ribbon here in desktop Excel. Most of our customers use. And again, the ability to change to various regions to see the data changing. I can key in another number here, and that's gone straight into the system. But what I can do now, of course, is I can just open up that report that I've got from that's actually here in desktop Excel. I can open up that report online. So same report I've saved into OneDrive. And then I can open this up directly here into Excel Online here and display my information. So it's two-way. It works both in desktop Excel, it works in the web client, and it also works on a Mac desktop as well, the new Jedox ribbon for Excel Online. Okay, and that sort of finishes our demonstration of our implementation here of office.js custom functions. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to type them away in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. That's some really cool stuff. Can I ask, since this is a very like developer focused audience, yeah, what was your experience building on the Office platform and using the custom functions?
Dominic Danel and Vladislav Milosevic are on the call. I might get them to maybe unmute and answer, our developers here.
All right, sorry to put them on the spot.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. So Vlado here. Hi, everyone. I don't know if you can see me. Yeah, so for the demo, it's custom function. So we are using custom function talking back to our cloud backend. So that's what's happening in the back. I don't know the experience. We've been talking to Keur and the whole team for quite a long time, following the development of this before it was GA, watching closely what's happening, and obviously we have a huge investment. We did a huge investment in this. We've been working on this since 2002, and we're now this is the next step to convert this to custom functions, which obviously has a huge potential for our customers because it has a much bigger reach. Being able to develop once and have experience both in Excel Online, Mac, desktop, and obviously Windows. Yeah, in a single with a single code base. Yeah, so it's really awesome. And team was very helpful. Keur and the we even had some meetings in our office last year, and it was really cool.
It's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, cool. And yeah, everyone will be around in the chat if you have questions about like development or the Jdox add-in in general. Feel free to ask them. So I'll switch over back to the slides. And yeah, like I said, we'll do the Q&A part now. There is one question that came in repeatedly online, I think was in the chat earlier. It was about using the new Edge Webview 2. So I'll just leave these instructions up here for now. This is the new Webview controller that's using the latest version of Chromium and all that. Well, I also saw a question in the chat earlier that will this be connected to the Visual Studio Code extensions and debugger extensions? And yeah, there is an option there for an Edge Webview 2 debugger as well. Yeah, I think that's. Kara, did you want to say anything else to Webview 2 while I know you're answering some questions earlier?
I think the team will have a blog post. CDR Runtime PM will be outlining a blog post as the slide says. Hey, it is now available on Insiders. I think really for us to hit our goal of bringing this to become generally available in the fall, we really need your help here. This is a huge change, and a change we think for the better. So like on this front, hey, the more help we can have in terms of testing on the Insiders channel, which also I think there was a recent name change, so it may be called Office Beta as well. But the more help you can do, the better we will be. And I think a couple of months ago, we even announced the shared runtime starting with Excel, and we'll bring the shared runtime to the other hosts as well. And right now, the shared runtime is still using IE, but our hope is, hey, once the new Edge Webview 2 control does GA, shared runtime will move to that as well. And so we think, hey, this is going to be a huge leap forward in terms of your developer experience, as well as just providing better capabilities for end users. Thanks, Alex.
Oh, no, thank you. Cool. Matt, were there any other SSO questions? I saw you were pretty active in the chat a little bit ago. Any other SSO questions you want to bring up for the group?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there was some great questions, asking if it was SAML 2. No, it's not SAML 2. There was a question about, is this just for Azure AD services, or does it work for other, identity providers? And it is just Azure AD services right now. If folks are looking to do things with other providers, we do still recommend that you do the dialog API, which is how you should also most likely also implement your fallback using something like MSAL. A couple implementation questions, other implementation questions, but I don't think there was anything else that I saw. No, it looks pretty good.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And yeah, as to the PowerPoint questions that are out there, we are actively looking at expanding PowerPoint APIs right now beyond the common API service that works for any add-in, and the, like, as Matt mentioned, the one create presentation function. We are looking into that. We don't have a timeline right now, but like as Kier mentioned, user voice is how we prioritize API requests. So if there's a particular function, particularly like if you were using it in an existing COM add-in, let us know, and go upvote that request. We can prioritize our releases of APIs based on that. So yeah, just let us know. But we are working on PowerPoint. We are investigating new APIs and figuring out how to best deliver a set that will help the most people. So yeah, your input in that is invaluable. And we will announce on this call when we have stuff for people to preview, to try out in Script Lab and such. So yeah, thank you. One other thing I wanted to mention, aside from engaging with us, if you are interested in presenting during an upcoming call, or giving us feedback of any kind or questions, go to ACMS Office Add-ins Engage. We'll also share the link to submit questions for the Q&A ahead of time. We had a lot of questions that required a lot of detailed answer and kind of specific, so we'll post them in the blog post coming up. Melody will share the link to that, or where you can find the blog post coming up. We also, Sylvia, our developer experience PM, put together another survey around developer satisfaction. So we really want to hear about your experiences building Office add-ins from start to finish. So if you could head over to ACMS Office Dev Satisfaction, fill out the quick form there, and let us know kind of what your experiences were with the platform. All right. Were there any other questions? Anything else, Juan or Kier, Matt, you want to share before we head off?
No, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on this call, Alex. It was great. Super happy to be here and share the info.
Of course. Thank you. All right.
It was not on my side, Alex. Thank you very much. It was great also to be here and share the latest on Outlook here.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And thanks again to Chris and Vlad for sharing their Jdox solution, talking about that. Yeah. All right.
Thank you also. Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so for those of you on the call who are new to Office add-ins, who this maybe is your first exposure, if you're interested in starting to extend the Office platform, we have some quick starts that'll get you up and running with a working add-in in 5 minutes or less. Head over to ACMS Office Add-ins Docs. You can start playing around with our quick starts. We also have tutorials there, including the SSO quick start, so you can start trying out that feature. If you're looking for a lighter automation solution, you don't need a full-fledged, web service add-in. You're just looking to automate some tasks in Excel. I recommend checking out Office Scripts. The feature is in preview right now. You can learn all about that at ACMS Office Scripts Docs. We also have numerous resources for y'all if you are interested in getting an Office development tenant and starting to try out these scenarios without having an enterprise tenant of your own. Head over to the Microsoft 365 Developer Program. There you can get a tenant and get more resources to help start your development process. Also, feel free to engage with us on Stack Overflow, on GitHub, User Voice. Like we mentioned, we're monitoring all those channels, and we want to hear your experiences and help you out. Finally, there are other developer community calls out there in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. This is just a quick list, but yeah, if you're interested in developing for Teams or SharePoint, check out those calls. They're either monthly or bi-monthly. So yeah, check them out today. So thank you all. This recording will be available on our M365 Developer YouTube channel. It'll go up sometime soonish, along with a blog post that'll have the questions and answers from the chat, and any questions that we didn't get to during this call, we'll have answers on the blog post. So thank you very much. We'll see you all on September 9th for the next community call. Have a great day. Thank you.